I'm Jeff Pospisil, the 10-Minute Treasurer, with practical advice for improving your church's financial future. In this video, I'm going to be talking about one of the duties of the Finance Committee, and that is the duty of funding the budget. And that sounds horrible. What kind of duty is that? But it's not as bad as it sounds. A lot of times the Finance Committee will give most of their attention to the expense side of the equation and ignore the income side of the equation. So we're all focused on controlling expenses and keeping down expenses. But we should also give attention to growing income and encouraging generous giving. So that's what this is talking about. And to do that, you need to understand why people do and don't give generously to the church. So, by the way, this isn't just my own thoughts or opinions. I've seen these things, but also there are studies and experts that would agree with me as well. So the number one reason why people don't give generously is that they don't believe. And they don't believe, first of all, they don't believe the church is making a difference. So when they look at all the church's efforts and activities, whether it's a lot or it's a little, they don't see anything that's improved because the church exists. And the other thing that they don't believe is they don't believe the leaders are trustworthy. Maybe they believe they're crooks or something like that, but chances are they just don't believe they're competent. So that's a different deal. But so that is the first hurdle that we got to work on. They don't believe the church is making a difference. They don't believe the leaders are trustworthy. Number two is that they don't understand. They don't understand this, that there's a relationship between their money and specifically their use of money and their faith. So a great verse is Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, and it says, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." And so it's basically saying how you spend your money will determine what you think is important. So if you spend your money on the church, you'll believe the church is important. If you spend your money on tobacco, you'll think smoking is important. I don't know. But there is a relationship between what you spend your money on and what you think is important. And the other one is that their giving matters. So that their personal giving, even, whether you're rich or you're poor, you're anywhere in between, that your giving matters, and it matters in two ways. It matters for you and your faith development, and it also matters for the work of the kingdom. So number three is they don't have money. It's kind of hard to give generously if you don't have any money. And this comes in two different forms. First of all, you have people that they just manage money poorly. That's why they don't have any money. They don't budget. They don't save. They spend more than they can afford to impress people they probably don't even like. And so these people, if they could learn how to manage money, then they would have the possibility to give. Then there's people that are just poor. This is a picture from the ministry of the Hope Center, which is in Rapid City. And there are people that are, for whatever reason, they're down and out and they don't have money, and they got, maybe they need a job, maybe they need a place to live. They have a lot more needs than just figuring out how to manage money. So they are poor. So number four is that we make it difficult. We actually make it difficult for people that want to give generously to do so. And one great example of this is prior to the pandemic, most churches, you had 1 hour per week to make your donation, and you could only give by cash or by check. And so that's a horrible business model. No other business would run like this. So now, since the pandemic, more of our churches allow for electronic giving, and so you can give 24/7, and it gives you another option for how to give. But thinking through that, not over limiting the ability and the methods to give. And the other one is we really didn't help those that had more complex gifts. And by that I mean those that maybe they wanted to list the church in their will, or maybe they wanted to set up a trust or an endowment, or they wanted to donate stock or cattle or grain. We really didn't have, we didn't really feel like we were capable of helping them, so we kind of let them figure it out themselves. And some people just decided they wouldn't give, and maybe the university will help them. So Anyway, but how are we helping make it easier for people to give? So we've been talking about the problem, and now we're going to start talking about solutions. What can you do specifically as a finance committee to combat these problems? And the first thing you can do is you could push for a stewardship campaign. Bring it up with your pastor, bring it up with the administrative council if necessary, but really push for it. And then once it's adopted, then be willing to provide leadership or volunteer or whatever it is to help make this a success. And there's a lot of great ones out there. I personally prefer New Consecration Sunday by Herb Miller, but there are other great ones out there, and I listed a few of them. Um, and this will hit a bunch of those problem areas. I mean, most of these have a testimony component to it where people are sharing what the Lord has done through the church to change their life. And so that will help people believe. All of these also talk about the relationship between faith and finances. And then a lot of them, it's really an open invitation where you're inviting all people to consider their giving so that everybody's giving matters. So that hits three of those boxes pretty clearly. So the next area is on sharing wins and funding winners. You know, it's so important for the church to see and hear how Jesus Christ is changing lives through the work of the church. And you know, as a finance committee person, I'm betting that you're not out in front of the congregation all that much. And for the most part, that's probably not a bad thing, but there are some specific things that you could do as a finance committee person to share wins. And the first one is you can be a win. You know, take your discipleship very seriously. You know, do what you can to grow closer to Jesus Christ. So that means be in the Bible, be in prayer, be in service, be in worship, you know, be in small groups. All these things will help bring you closer to Jesus Christ and have your life transformed. And then you're going to be a walking win where people will look at you and they will see that you are a walking example of what this church can do in the life of a person. The next one is sharing win sightings with others. You know, when you see the church getting it right, when you see a life being transformed, share that with others, and especially share that with the pastor. This will be such an encouragement for them, and chances are it'll bleed over in some form or another into Sunday morning where it'll be shared with the congregation. So, and then in funding winners, we need to budget like investors. So we need to be thinking about results, and you can influence the budgeting process because it makes no sense to budget in something that's not producing any wins. You know, maybe it produced wins a while ago, you know, but now it's not. So helping change that. And then there are areas that, you know, they're producing wins or they have a lot of potential to produce wins. So putting more of our resources in that area if possible. So you can help the church budget like an investor by bringing this to them. And what this will do is it'll help mainly in that belief section. People will, of course, see the wins, so they'll believe the church is making a difference, but then they'll have more trust. The church will seem more competent when they see you putting money that's getting more results. So another thing you can do is help the church offer some specific classes. And whether you lead these classes yourself as finance committee people or you just encourage the church to offer these classes, either way works. But you need classes in the area of financial management. So Financial Peace University is a great one. It's been around for a while, but something that will help people learn how to manage their money better, get out of debt, build savings. And another one that I think is just as important is a marriage class. A big cause of poverty is divorce. And also, a big cause of not managing your money well is not communicating well in marriage. So if you get these classes to be regulars in your church, you're going to combat that where people don't have money to give because they'll be able to manage it better. You'll be helping some people avoid poverty. You'll also have people that are more able to help because they got their own money situation figured out, so they'll be able to help those people that are truly in need. You're going to be able to see lives transformed, so people are going to see that as well. They're going to see their marriages and their financial lives transformed, and it's going to help people trust you more. So if you fix somebody's marriage, if you fix somebody's finances, that's going to build trust in what the church can do. So the last one is in the area of making it easier. And really, most of this is going to be working with your financial secretary and treasurer, but go ahead and research those electronic giving options. If your church doesn't allow this, look to make sure that they allow for automatic giving, and also online or smartphone giving. And also making sure that this is somehow made known to the congregation. I'm going to include a link to a webinar we did earlier that talked a lot about this. I tend to promote Vanco. I like them. I'm familiar with them, but there's a number of them that do a great job. Another thing you can do is helping with those unusual gifts. You can bring in an expert like the foundation. They can visit with donors on this. They can hold a workshop for your church. There's also people in your community that I'm sure know all about this. One of the things that I like seeing our foundation do is that they accept stock gifts on behalf of a church, and then they'll cash them out and cut you a check. So that's been a great service of theirs as well. So this, of course, helps in the area of where it's difficult, but another thing it does help is it helps people, again, trust the church, because you're acting like a more sophisticated business. And another thing it does is those people that, well, they don't carry around cash. Maybe they've always thought, well, maybe they don't care if I give because I don't carry around cash. I don't carry around a checkbook. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can give too. So they actually have made it so that they want my gifts as well. All right, hopefully that has helped. Again, if you found this helpful, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And again, this is a ministry of the Finance Office of the Dakotas Conference, as well as the Dakotas United Methodist Foundation. All right, blessings.